Now, I feel there's something that has changed in this connection, and I don't think they expected it. Uh, you may have stopped waiting for them emotionally, it seems, and now they are beginning to realize that they don't have the same place in your life anymore, and they once assumed they had. But there's another part of the story you haven't seen yet, because the reason they pulled away may have had much more to do with control and vulnerability than a lack of feelings here. There's something very interesting happening here, because I'm not getting the energy of someone who simply misses you. I am getting someone who is suddenly realizing that you may not be waiting for them anymore, because this person is the one who ghosted you, who just ran away from this connection, and the realization is creating a completely different emotional reaction in them, it seems. There is actually two things I want to uncover in this reading that I see and I feel that I should, and I feel called towards it. The first thing is what they have recently noticed about you that made them realize they could genuinely lose this connection, because I see the world ending here. And the second is even more interesting, because I feel there is something they have been, keeping to themselves about why they pulled back in the first place. Okay. And I don't think the real reason is as simple here. I don't think so. Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces energy, and I see Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini very strong here. So let's get into this. Because this energy has a very different story underneath it, a very different energy today. What I'm noticing first is that this connection has gone through a period where one person was emotionally more available than the other, it seems. And honestly, I feel that person may have been you. Yes. You may have been the one thinking, okay, I have made my feelings clear. I have shown them that I care. I've given this enough chances. Now what? Now what? Okay. And this other person somehow became very comfortable with the idea that you would still be there. Knight of Wands, very on and off connection from this person. Even if you stopped messaging, even if you stopped asking question, even if you became, quieter, there was still this assumption in their, I would say, head. Okay, there was still this assumption in their head, and they always thought to themselves that things and doors will always stay open with you. And I don't necessarily mean that you did something dramatic here. You may, or they did something dramatic here. So you may not have announced anything actually. You may not have blocked them as well. You may not have told them, I am moving on. It feels much quieter than that, it seems. And your energy simply started saying, I'm not chasing this anymore, because 10 of Wands, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, very strong energy, I'm seeing. This is the contradiction I am seeing right now. Okay, this is the contradiction I am seeing right now. On the outside, this person may look completely fine. They could appear detached, busy, distracted, even stubborn. Okay, but underneath that, there is a growing awareness that the situation isn't frozen anymore. Okay, it isn't frozen anymore. You are changing, your life is moving, it seems. Your emotional attention is also moving, and they don't have the same clarity about you that they once had. And this is where the feeling, the story gets interesting. I'm sorry, I've picked up the mic here. I am getting that they may have actually expected you to eventually reach out again, it seems. Maybe they thought time would soften you. Time would soften you, because eventually I have also received the lover's card. They had this confidence on you. Maybe they thought you would become curious. Maybe they thought eventually you would ask what happened, because ultimately this is a soulmate connection, a twin flame connection for few. But instead, you became quieter, it seems. You became quieter, it seems. And that silence has started making them ask questions they didn't want to ask. And they feel, is it the end? Scorpio energy. Have they moved on? Are they talking to somebody else? Have they actually moved on and with someone else? Do they still feel the same way about me or not? And most importantly, is what I see is, what if I waited too long? The last question feels very important here, because I'm not seeing someone who suddenly woke up one morning and realized they love you and realized they love you. This feels more like someone who is beginning to understand the consequences of their own choices, it seems. There's a difference. There's definitely a difference. They may have known they cared about you before. They may have known they cared about you before, but knowing you care about someone and realizing you could permanently lose them are two completely different emotional experience, trust me. Trust me. And this person is moving into the second one. Now when I look deeper into their current thoughts, I feel they are replaying specific moments, not necessarily the big romantic moments. Not the big romantic moments. Actually, some of the things they replay may be very ordinary. A conversation, something you said, the way you reacted when they became distant, a message they didn't answer properly, maybe, is what I see. A moment when you gave them an opportunity to explain themselves and they didn't take it. And there is regret around one particular thing, is what I feel. It feels like they have, it feels like they know they made you question your importance to them. Okay, they may have acted as though they didn't care as much as they actually did earlier, and now they are realizing that their behavior may have communicated something completely different here. Something completely different here. They may have wanted control over the situation. They may have thought, if I don't show too much, I can't get hurt. They may have even thought about that. But that strategy had a consequence. And that consequence is you. You started protecting yourself. You started protecting yourself, and now they don't know how to reverse it. It's their loss, not yours. There is also something else coming through in the spread right now. This person may occasionally wonder whether someone else could enter your life. And are you happy with that person, stable with that person? Not necessarily because they have evidence. It could simply be the thought itself that bothers them. The idea that somebody else might eventually receive the attention, softness, patience, or emotional connection that they once had access to, or they once had with you. And that thought is uncomfortable to them, so uncomfortable that they are getting frustrated right now and they can't bear it, because of part of their confidence came from believing that your feelings from them, for them, was stable. You will not go anywhere, and now they aren't so sure. And around this point, I want to bring in something that may change how you understand the entire situation. Okay, how you understand the entire situation, because I was initially looking at their distance as emotional avoidance, but now I'm seeing something underneath it. Okay, I'm seeing something underneath it. They may have been testing how much control they still had over the connection, not necessarily consciously, But there was an element of, if I pull away, will they come toward me? And when you didn't respond in the way they expected, something shifted. Wait. Now, this changes something because this isn't just about them missing you. This is about their old strategy no longer working for them. No longer working for them. They thought distance would give them power. Instead, distance gave them anxiety, and it gave you clarity. And now that clarity is affecting them, that is the twist here, guys. They may have expected your silence to make you more emotionally attached. Okay? Instead, your silence over here may have helped you detach from the cycle, which I feel now it is there. And I think they can feel that, and I think they can, you know, that may be why their energy suddenly feels more restless right now, very frustrated. So if this is describing your situation, guys, comment something meaningful below, like I choose clarity, and hide this particular video right now because I'm genuinely curious how many of you are experiencing this exact shift where you stop chasing an answer and suddenly the entire dynamic started feeling different. Now let's go deeper into what they are hiding. Okay, because there is vulnerability here that they probably don't want you to see at all or feel at all. Okay, but they are losing their sleep. They are definitely losing their sleep. I feel this person has been trying to maintain an image of being unaffected by going out, putting stories with their friends, or something or the other they are doing. They don't want you to know how much they think about the situation. They don't want you to know that they sometimes wonder what you are doing. They don't want you to know that your absence has become noticeable. And they definitely don't want you to know that there is some jealousy or insecurity underneath this. But I don't see jealousy in the simple sense of, I know they are with someone else. It feels more like jealousy toward the possibility that you could become happy without them. That you could become happy without them, that's very different. That's very, very different. They may be watching from a distance, directly or indirectly, and noticing that you seem less emotionally consumed by this connection. Okay, maybe you are posting differently, maybe you are not posting at all. Maybe you're focusing on yourself as well, because I do see that you are taking care of yourself as well. Maybe you're simply not giving them the emotional reaction they once expected or you used to give, that they are used to it. And that creates a strange feeling for them, trust me, because they may have wanted you to prove you that you cared. But when you stopped proving it, they were forced to confront their own feelings, and there is also regret here around something they didn't say. I keep getting the say, the sense of an unfinished conversation here, and this person is going to come forward for that. Something that should have been explained, something they should have admitted here. Maybe they owe you an explanation for their own behavior. Maybe they wanted to tell you why they disappeared or became inconsistent here. But you know what? This person is an emperor energy, Aries energy. Aries, Leo, Sagittarius also. But pride stopped them. And now the longer they wait, the harder it becomes to start that conversation. Because how do you come back after silence without admitting that the silence was partly your choice? That's the problem. They may be thinking about communication, but the obstacle isn't necessarily lack of feelings here, is what I see. The obstacle is how to approach you without exposing too much vulnerability here, and that tells me something important about the next stage. I don't want to tell you. They are definitely going to message you tomorrow, but that isn't what this reading is about, trust me. What I see is an emotional movement first, is what I see. They have to move from watching and thinking into accepting responsibility. And I feel that process has already started here, no doubt about it. By the way, majority of you should be this month itself, Leo energy. Now let's talk about you here, okay? Let's check your energy, because your energy is actually one of the biggest reason this reading is moving in this particular direction. You look tired of trying to decode someone, like, literally tired, not necessarily tired of loving them. That's important. You may still care, you may still have moments where you wonder what they are doing. You may still secretly hope, that there is another chapter, but you're becoming less willing to abandon your own peace just to keep a connection over here alive. And you're literally juggling what you should be doing, I see those. And that's a major difference here. You are starting to understand that wanting someone and waiting indefinitely for someone are not the same thing, which is good. You can love someone and still say, I am not going to chase you. You can miss someone and still choose yourself. Okay? And that is the energy they seem to be noticing right now. You are becoming emotionally harder to take for granted. And that's for sure. Not because you are playing a game here. No, you're not doing that, because you are genuinely changing your standards. Okay. And ironically, that may be what finally makes this person understand the value of what they had. This is where the dynamic can potentially change, actually. Okay, because if they do approach you, I don't think the healthiest version of this connection comes from you immediately giving them everything they wanted. Okay, the important thing is whether their behavior matches their words. And if communication happens, listen to what they say, but also notice what they actually do afterward. Go with their action, not their words, because this reading isn't showing me that your lesson is to wait for somebody to finally choose you. It's showing me that they may not have to prove that they understand what they almost lost. Okay, and I feel there could be an opening for communication or some form of movement when the emotional pressure becomes stronger than their pride. Okay, for some of you this could happen fairly soon, because page of swords is there. Okay, judgment is there. For others the timing may take longer because this person is still fighting their own hesitation, but majority I see this happening in the next 2 to 3 days. But the strongest energy is not about speed, it's about sincerity, is what I'm gonna say, whether it happens after 2 days or 2 weeks. If they come forward, you may notice a different tone this time, less casual, less hey what's up, more of an attempt to understand where you guys stand. there could be there could still be awkwardness, there could still uh, be hesitation. They may not immediately say everything, but there is potential for a conversation that reveals more than the previous communication did. And there is one obstacle over here, that's for sure, that I see. They may fear that you won't respond the way you once did. Will you give them the second chance or not, is what they fear. That fear could actually delay them. Okay, that fear could actually delay them. That is also one of the blockage I see. Just remember the version who was emotionally available. They don't know how the current version of you will respond because they knew that version. And that's exactly what makes this so interesting, because the person they are approaching may no longer be the person they left behind now. Now let's come back to the two things I mentioned at the beginning that I wanted to say. The first was, what did they notice that made them realize they could lose you, is the first thing. It is your emotional withdrawal, no doubt about it, no doubt at all. Not necessarily physical absence, not necessarily another person. Your energy stopped revolving around getting a reaction from them, and they felt the difference. No more missing, no more reconciliation, please come back, and all that stuff. The second question was, why did they pull back in the first place? And the strongest message I am getting is that they were trying to protect their own vulnerability while also maintaining control. They may have convinced themselves that keeping things undefined was safer, but now they are realizing that uncertainty has a cost to it, which they didn't. They didn't necessarily stop caring, they stopped themselves from fully participating, and those are the two very different things here. The final message here is actually quite simple, is what I'm going to say. This person may be realizing that the connection isn't waiting in the exact place where they left it, and this is something that comes as a realization now, which is good for you. You have changed, your expectations have changed, your patience has changed, and the realization may force them to decide whether they are willing to meet you differently or continue watching from a distance here. So if you're wondering what happens next, I would watch for actions that break the old pattern, not just words that temporarily make you feel hopeful. Okay, mark my words for that, and keep that as a reminder, because the real turning point simply is them not coming back. The return, what I feel, they should come up with a different level of honesty. And there is one final emotional message coming through right now when I was talking. You don't have to prove that you are worth choosing. If this person realizes your value because you are finally walking away from the waiting game, let that realization belong to them. Your job is not to convince them. Please don't do that. Please don't beg, chase, anything. Your job is to notice what they do with the opportunity they may still have. So I want to leave you with this one question. Okay, let me know in the comment section, answer that. If this person came back today, what is the one thing you would need them to finally explain or admit before you could trust this connection again? Tell me that in the comments, because I think the answer to that question says a lot about where this relationship actually stands for you. All right. And if this reading gave you a perspective you hadn't seen or considered before, you can like the video and subscribe, because we are going to keep looking at these connections from the deeper emotional layer, not just surface level. Will they come back, question, and whatsoever it is? Just remember, you didn't necessarily lose the connection when you stopped chasing it. You may have finally discovered what this was really worth. Okay, and thank you so much for watching this particular video and staying with me. The love spell that I'm going to suggest for this particular situation is the 21 days love combo, or go for the love obsession spell work. And if you would like to book a personal session with me or the spell work with me, the details are given in the description box below. I'll be happy to help you out. Thank you so much for watching this video.